Hello and welcome to Sports Talk in the Burgh, the one and only show where three college students yell at each other about sports that none of them were good enough to play past high school level. I'm your host, Brett McGulick, joined once again by Casey Irwine and making his sports talk return, Caden Hyde. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
I'm a little sick. It's kind of my flu game today, but what's picking me up is that Caden's back. I'm really happy to be on the desk with him. I'm ready to get into you, Caden. It's been a long time.
It has been 312 days since my last show on Sports Talk in the Burgh. I moved up to the great assistant producer chair up in the sky, but I'm sure I'm going to be back down here with you boys.
All right, let's kick things off. Today we're going to begin our discussion with the return of the NHL. But before we do that, we have to discuss the fallout of the men's hockey bracket of the Olympics. Last week, Casey and I had the honor of talking predictions with Nate Fennell. Now Nate has a little message for us, so let's listen to what he said.
Thanks, Brett. Well, I hate to say I was right. Actually, I love to say I was right, so I'm going to say it. I was right. The men's team, the USA men's team, won gold. I mean, what did I tell you all along? You had to have faith. You had to believe. But no, Casey and Brett, you were so obsessed with what you've seen online about this Canada team being one of the greatest we've ever seen put together, but you forgot the fact that this USA men's team was just as good and just as loaded with NHL talent. When Sidney Crosby went down, this Canada team was weak, physically and mentally. Everybody knew that Connor McDavid and Nathan MacKinnon couldn't pick up the slack left behind with Crosby's injury. But you two just simply forgot this. Crosby isn't just the greatest captain in hockey, but the greatest captain in all of sports for no reason. He delivers time after time, something that McDavid and MacKinnon will never do. You know who did deliver? Connor Hellebuck and Jack Hughes. They delivered for the greatest country in the land and proved why you guys do not know puck and why you guys are truly not patriots.
Casey, we just got rocked, dude. We just got rocked.
Nate, what you don't realize is the only reason that Canada lost is because they actually were chokers and because Connor Hellebuck did have the game of his life. And I guess maybe it's our fault for backing Connor McDavid in a championship or pressure situation. But if you watch the game, the whole game, and you watched how dominant Canada was and the roster they had, the reason they didn't lose was because a 38-year-old Sidney Crosby didn't play. It's because Canada just didn't perform as they should have.
All right, well, let's move on here. But, I mean, I am happy to be wrong. Cue Freebird, obviously. But let's move on here. With the Olympics over, that means the return of the NHL season after a 3-week break. Here at the end of February and March, right around the corner, if there's a time for teams to get hot, it's right now. So going into the final stretch of the season with the Stanley Cup playoffs growing nearer, which team has the most to prove? Caden, what do you think?
Well, Brett, I think this is pretty obvious for my choice here. A lot of times when you're coming out of a break, you have to beat a team smelling blood in the water. I don't think any team has more blood in the water to sniff than the New York Islanders. Right now, they're third in the Metro with 69 points, only 1 point behind the Penguins, and with Sidney Crosby being out, you don't know how well that team's going to look going on into the playoffs. And even this year, the Islanders coming into the season, they're playing with house money. Last year was incredibly depressing for them. They missed the playoffs. They only had about 3 or 4 real pieces, with being Ilya Sorokin, their defense duo Pelika Polak still playing well, Noah Dobson, Barzal, and Horvat. But the rest of the team was really kind of missing stuff. They sold in the offseason, getting rid of Noah Dobson and Brock Nelson to contending teams, and then they somehow, to turn all around, won the draft lottery, despite being a team with, I believe, the 11th best odds for the draft lottery. And they won Matthew Schaefer, who's probably the leader to win the Calder Trophy for best rookie in the league. He has 39 points and one of the best goal-scoring defensemen already. Ilya Sorokin's going to win the Vezina. Just this team, they can leapfrog the Penguins, get home ice advantage, and then they probably play those Penguins again in the playoffs. This team really has nowhere to go but up.
Well, Caden, it's interesting you say the Islanders because, like you said, they're third in the Metro right behind the Penguins, and my pick for this is, in fact, the Penguins. I mean, I would have picked them before Sidney Crosby was confirmed to be out for 4 weeks, and everyone has already been talking about, oh, this Penguins team has had such a hot start to the year compared to what they were expected to be at, and now you lose your captain for 4 weeks. And so everyone already was looking at the Pens. Hey, can they keep this up after this Olympic break with their players getting rested? But now they really have to show, without their captain, with the guys they have right now, they just made, in my opinion, a great trade getting Gerard and trading Kulak, even if that Kulak-Letang pairing was good. It's going to be really interesting what the Penguins look like and how committed they are to winning and pushing for not just a playoff spot, but being top of the Metro.
I'm going to throw one more team in the ring for you guys. I'm going to toss into that ring the San Jose Sharks. I mean, I know obviously they had a rough stretch going into the Olympic break, but Macklin Celebrini, that's the only two words I got for you guys. Macklin Celebrini, what he did in the Olympics, what he's done for this team all season. They started off so hot. They definitely fell off a little bit in this, but right before the break for sure. But I mean, when this team gets hot, they could go somewhere, man. What do you guys think about that one?
I have to disagree. I mean, what we're looking right now with the Sharks is very similar to like the mid-2000s Penguins with Sidney Crosby, where you have that young player with Celebrini and Crosby, but the team around them just isn't quite there yet. Like, his line mates are a bunch of former top 6 guys and waiver claims. Like, the thing, like to the San Jose Sharks and Macklin Celebrini's credit, they've been so good this season considering the circumstances. But no, this team is not making the playoffs.
All right, well, let's move on here. Let's continue the NHL discussion, and talk playoff scenarios. The Stanley Cup playoffs are right around the corner, and as we can see here, there's a lot going on. But who are your guys' Stanley Cup predictions to start this one? Casey, what do you think about this?
You know, and Brett, I think we're going to be having a similar opinion here on the fact that, first off, I don't think the Cup's going to be that great this year. But if I have to say, I think the Avalanche are going to get there. And I think at long last, you know, I think the Canes are going to get there. I think the Canes, you know, they've been pushing in the playoffs. You know, they've had top years, but they just never could quite do it and get to the Cup. But now I think they have a chance because I think everyone else is just, most teams are kind of have a down year, especially in the East. And, you know, Aho, Svechnikov, and the big concern for the Canes is their goaltending past Bussy. But we'll see what happens. But I think those are the two teams you're going to see in the Stanley Cup final.
I'm going to have to agree with you on one of those teams, Casey. I'm going to have to go with the Avalanche as well. But I think the Lightning is going to top it over the Hurricanes. Personally, they're just way too good. They're on the top of that Atlantic Division. I just think they're going to go past the Lightning. Caden, you're shaking your head. What do you think is going to go down in this Cup final?
See, I've spent my sabbatical learning a lot more about puck, and I feel confident enough to talk about who I think is going to win. You guys are so much about, who's on paper the best, who has the best record. You're forgetting you're talking about the Buffalo Bills of hockey and the Carolina Hurricanes, and two evil franchises in the Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So why don't we talk about some joy and whimsy in the two teams that actually are going to be making the Stanley Cup final, the Minnesota Wild, and you're going to hear me correctly here, the Buffalo Sabres. They've been so good this season. Minnesota themselves. Let's not forget, everyone talks about how good Colorado has been to start off the year, how they could win the points record. They are now 5 points only ahead of Minnesota. So, and going very weakly into the break, and Nathan MacKinnon getting punched in the stomach during that gold medal game against Team USA. So Minnesota, they have no holes on their roster. They have an excellent goalie tandem, probably the best in the league between Gustafsson and Wallstedt. They have the power play now with Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Eriksson Ek, Matt Boldy, and now they have one of, if not the best defenseman in the league in Quinn Hughes, who's been incredible since he's gotten there. This Minnesota team, they were tied for the second best record in the league, and like I said before, only 5 points, or in other words, 3 good games away from passing Colorado in the standings. And even then, Buffalo, who saw this coming to start out the year? They were awful, and they were probably the hottest team going into the break. They have the goaltending now with Alex Lyon. They have the top flight player in Rasmus Dahlin, and they have their forward core. It's all coming together. This is what's going to happen, and anything other than this, you guys just don't know puck.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's move over to the hardwood. The NBA is also nearing the end of its season with the top teams playing for seeding, which, hint, hint, we will talk about later. But the bottom teams are playing for the exact opposite, trying to get more ping pong balls in that draft lottery. Commissioner Adam Silver plans on taking action to the tanking issue next season, but how would you guys fix the tanking problem? Caden, how would you fix it?
So something we've seen very recently is the in-season tournament in the NBA, where the players just kind of come together to make the middle of the regular season a bit more interesting. My way that they are going to fix this tanking problem is kind of very similar. They're going to have a postseason tournament of all the worst teams. So in order to make this a bit more fair competitive-wise, the top 8 teams, or the 8 teams with the best record in the lottery, picks 14 through 7, are going to have just a regular lottery system going in towards that. But the worst 6 teams are going to play in a very similar to an NFL playoffs style of style of playoffs. They're all going to play each other with the team winning the tournament, getting the first overall pick. And if you lose, it's a double elimination. You go towards the loser's bracket, and that's probably the best way to figure it out. And contingency, if you don't own your pick, that pick stays static. So,
Caden, the thing is, though, in this day and age, more games is not the answer. And the simple thing is this. In the NBA, the draft lottery just doesn't work. In the NHL and the MLB, it works because those leagues, you don't see those guys for years sometimes. And it's much more developmental focus. In the NBA, pretty much once you get past usually the top 2 or 3 picks every year, it kind of falls off in the talent, and really everyone only tanks to maybe try to get the #1 pick. So if there's no lottery, only 2 or 3 teams are going to realistically have a chance of getting that #1 pick, which is what everyone tanks for, because usually the #1 pick, especially in these recent years, have been generational prospects that everyone wants to turn their franchise around. So it would just put a lot less teams in contention to even have a point in tanking.
Are you serious? Getting rid of the lottery is going to fix tanking?
Yeah.
To going to where the worst team, no doubt, gets the first overall pick is gonna fix tanking. To where I could just sit on my players, lose 70 games, and then I automatically get the first pick. Right now, we got a flat rate. I don't see how that works better at all.
The thing is, though, it's about less teams will tank. If 2 teams tank, that's fine, but it's less teams.
All right, I'm going to cut you guys off there. We are going to take a break, but when we come back, the NBA discussion continues, so don't go anywhere.
Sweetie. Okay, you know what? Let's take off his sweatshirt. Get rid of pictures of him. You don't have to look at him. Goodbye, Dave.
Mom, you don't understand. He's tagged in like 400 of my posts.
I can cut out tags.
No, that's not how it works.
What is a tag?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care would love to share their first with you.
So recently, Gallo has been on quite a run of good shows lately.
That was a big opponent to beat there, but now they move on to the Three Rivers Classic, where they've had some pretty good history in it. We're going to take a look at some of these games. They've won it a couple times. We're going to move on into that.
But it's led to the group starting to question his morals.
And that's when I said, you can't wear a sweater vest. Ian Kist wore a sweater vest. Hang on. It's go time. You seeing this? You seeing these?
Can't believe
You seeing this literature? Hey, Gallo!
Yo, what's up?
What about these PEDs?
Huh? No.
Get on the ground!
It's a shame. Always happens to the best. That's it.
Welcome back. Going from the Debbie Downers of the NBA to the top of the league that could win it all, or are the top teams fooling us a little bit? Well, Caden is going to rank his contenders and pretenders of this NBA playoff. So Caden, take it away.
All right, thank you, Brett. So we're going to start off here with the number 3 contender in the NBA. Right now, this season, that is the Detroit Pistons. Right now, this team, Cade Cunningham is leading it. He was the fruit of the draft when it came back in 2021. And this Pistons team has been terrible over the past few years, up until last season when they had one of the greatest turnarounds in NBA history. Now, they're on top of the league. Already with more than 30 games left, about 30 games left to go, they are already almost at their win total from last year. They've been completely dominant. The Pistons, all their role players around them, Duncan Robinson's going back to his Miami days. Their interior defense, especially with Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, the grit and tenacity that they have going on, their defensive versatility and everything has just been absolutely incredible. So going on to our number 3 pretender, we have the Boston Celtics. So I know what you're thinking. Right now, they're the second team in the East, which, yes, they are. But the way their style of play is going right now, it's very different than it has been in previous years. So far this season, they've really been relying so much on the three-pointer, and where if those shots don't fall, they don't win the games. Their defense is also near the top, but whenever that comes down to the nitty-gritty of the playoffs, if they're losing all of their players, it's just not going to be exactly the same. So let's talk about really the elephant in the room, Jason Tatum. The best player on their roster has not been healthy all season. Sources around the league are saying he's going to be coming back, But I don't know if that's the best decision for this team right now. And let's not forget, because when he comes back, he won't be at 100% playing-wise or health-wise. Let's also not forget that this team employs Casey's favorite player, Nikola Vucevic, as their interior defender and #1 center. I just don't see this team really getting it done in the playoffs, especially considering what they have going around in the East. So going to our second contender, and this could be a controversial take, are the OKC Thunder. Coming off of a dominant title win last season, the Thunder seemed primed to do it again. They re-signed Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren to max extensions and returned many of their role players. To open the season, they looked incredible. They jumped out to that historic start, and there were talks of them breaking the 2016 Warriors win record. They cooled off eventually, but still sit, although barely, at the top of the West. This team, however, has a different feel. Their defense is still insane. They're the top of the league in defensive rating, but their offense is lacking, especially from beyond the arc. Only 2 players on OKC, Jared McCain and Isaiah Joe, are hitting 40% of their threes. And players like Lou Dort, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, and Alex Caruso have been hitting sub 35%. If OKC wants to repeat, they have the ability to. Defense, playmaking, championship DNA. But in order, they need to hit their threes to lift the Larry O'Brien again. For my #2 pretender, there are midseason distractions, and then there is whatever is going on in H-Town with the Houston Rockets and Kevin Durant. We all saw over All-Star Weekend that KD's burner account on Twitter got leaked, and in which he had some choice words for his teammates, Alperen Sengun and Jabari Smith Jr., among other former teammates and coaches. How, as a teammate, especially Jabari Smith, do you come back and buy in to win another ring after he legitimately called you a slur on Twitter? The answer is that you don't, and that's why Houston's not a contender. But wait, there's more. 2 of their best get-down-and-dirty guys, Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams, are out for the season, causing KD and Amin Thompson to step into lead ball-handling roles and Clint Capella playing real minutes in 2026. Houston has a great team when healthy, don't get me wrong, and when vibes are high, but they have neither so far this season. And now, here it is, the #1s. To begin, let's go over #1 contender and my pick to win the NBA Finals, the San Antonio Spurs. Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing the beginning of a dynasty. The Spurs have all of the pieces. Keldon Johnson and Harrison Barnes on the wings, playing excellent defense and providing valuable playmaking. Justin Champagnie and Devin Vassell were providing backcourt scoring. The guard trio of NBA All-Star De'Aaron Fox, 2025 Rookie of the Year and second overall Stephon Castle, and second overall pick Dylan Harper can kill you in 3 ways: the drive, the shot, and defense. And finally, last but not least, Luke Kornet giving a valuable 7 and 7 off the bench. But in all seriousness, Victor Wembanyama has been a revelation. 7'5" and can move like the wind, and he has already become the game's most impactful defensive player, averaging a league-leading 2.8 blocks per contest. He's also averaging 25 points and 11 rebounds on 51, 36, 82 splits. And need I remind you, he's playing on a minutes restriction. This Spurs team's time is now, and if they're going to win it all, we are going to have some nasty dialogues about Victor Wembanyama and the best player in the world conversations. Now, our #1 pretender is a team that many of us know well, those yellow bums in LA. The Lakers are the definition of fool's gold this season, and it's because they fall into the traps that every Lakers team falls into. Tons of stars, no depth, and minimal cohesion. Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves have played very well on the offensive side of the ball, with them averaging 70 points and 21 assists between them, including Luka pacing the league in scoring. But notice how I said offensive only. This Lakers team defense is terrible. They have no rim protector outside of Jackson Hayes and Ayton of DeAndre, who both are subpar players on average teams, let alone starters on contenders. Their role players, guys like Rui Hachimura, Luke Kennard, Jared Vanderbilt, and Jake LaRavia, are not needle movers in the slightest. Rob Pelinka may have fleeced Nico Harrison last February, but there's more to team construction than getting the best names. And without anyone else but the big 3, this Lakers team will remain first-round exits.
Casey, you were making some faces over there. I think there's some picks that you disagree with on this one, so I'm going to throw it right to you.
Well, actually, I kind of agree with most things here. You know, I can't lie, Caden. I love the Nikola Vucevic hate. I got to be honest. There's no chance, no matter how good Jaylen Brown is this season, there's no chance any team can go that far in the playoffs with Nikola Vucevic at center. Trust me, I know. I watched the Bulls for a long time.
We like to talk about Najee Harris being someone who looks like he's running in jeans. Nikola Vucevic might actually have -5 speed in 2K.
But, Caden, here's the one thing. The Thunder, as good as I guess they are, first off, they've kind of hit a bit of a rocky road since their amazing start to the season. And the thing is, this decade, no team that's won the championship has made it past the second round. And another thing is, I just can't. I hate the way they play, and I just don't think it's sustainable year after year because they rely on quite a lot of foul calls for them and quite a lot of foul calls not going against them.
Look, and to see, like, I get what you're saying there. Everyone knows Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, when we turn on the game, he's at the free throw line. But there's more to basketball than the flashy stuff, right? And OKC, like I said during when I was talking about it, their three-pointers are not good, and that's something that could really hold them back going forward. But they have legitimately everything else at an elite level, and that's why I don't think they're going to get past the Spurs, especially considering what they did in the regular season. They got killed most times that they played, but I do see them very easily making it to the conference finals.
I do have one question I do want to propose to you guys is Legault washed? Is that why this team is a pretender? Is he washed?
He's not washed. He's just no longer the best in the world.
Okay, I'm sorry. My apologies. But when we come back here on Sports Talk in the Burgh, hold on, sorry, I got a text. Looks like the gift I just sent over to Casey said just got dropped off. We'll be right back on Sports Talk in the Burgh.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my third child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school or even let alone go to college, so I'm trying to break that barrier. Every day after work, went straight to school, studied hard, and it paid off. I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me. The high school diploma is just added to the confidence, and now I feel unstoppable.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. While we were in break, looks like Casey's PR team picked up the gift. So can you hand that over to Casey for me, please?
Oh, what's that? Oh, what is this, Brett?
All right, Casey, what you are holding right there is very valuable, very special to me. Right there is my magic hat. What? That hat contains the name of every single professional athlete. It's bottomless. But your task is to pick out 5 names and tell us if they're overrated, fairly rated, or underrated. You ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
All right, Brett, I really appreciate the gift. Let's get right into this. I'm going to pick around. Oh, James Harden. What isn't there to say about this guy? Well, what I have to say is that Mr. Honeybun is one of the most overrated players of this era. Yeah, sure, he's become a superstar and won individual accolades, but what does he actually have to show for all that? Nothing besides a Big Mac belly, an addiction to the clubs, a bunch of confused Chinese children, and 4 toxic locker rooms left in his wake. When he was on Houston during his prime, year after year in the playoffs, this guy would get smoked out every time. It would be largely his fault. He got benched in 2015 in an elimination game. He got smoked by a Warriors team that did not have Steph Curry in 2016, and he turned it over 13 times. He choked against a 27 Spurs team that was missing Kawhi and Parker. I mean, I could go on and on just for his time with the Rockets, and since he's left, he's been worse. You can't name one significant James Harden season since he left the Rockets, but as always, you can still count on him choking in a Game 7. See 2023 against the Celtics as an example, 9 points. He is a problem everywhere he goes, despite everything that teams give to him, and it would be a massive favor to the Cleveland Cavaliers if instead of trying to play basketball, he sticks to what he knows best: eating, drinking, and clubbing. All right, that's all I got to say about it. That was a lot. Let's see what else the hat has got for me. Let's see. Ooh, boy, Derrick Rose. All right, I'm a Bulls fan. I said it on this show. Let me tell you all that it may come as a shocker, but I think D Rose is actually underrated as a player. Now, hear me out on this. For his first few seasons in the NBA, Derrick Rose burst onto the scene as one of the most exciting point guards we had seen in a while. In an era following the Nashes and the Stocktons of the world, D Rose was a breath of fresh air as he won Rookie of the Year and soon after became the youngest MVP ever at the age of 22. And then, of course, came the tragic incident where he blew out his knee. He was never quite the same player after that because he built his whole game on his explosiveness, which you can't really have when playing on one actual knee. But even at his state, this was a guy that still averaged well over 15 points the rest of his career and stayed in the league for a long time, while other guys in the same situation would probably be forced to go overseas. So yes, people don't actually realize just how good Derrick Rose was, and that if he never got injured, he would be regarded as a top 3 point guard of all time. Now, let's see what else the hat has got here. Brett, what do you got? Oh, Brett, you might have put this name in there. Matt Murray. What an interesting name to pull. I think you have a guy here that's pretty properly rated. Of course, his heyday was back in 2016 and 2017 when he led the Penguins in net during their back-to-back championships while pretty much forcing Penn's legend Marc-Andre Fleury out of town. Despite falling off in the seasons after that and being replaced soon enough, he is still a name the people of Pittsburgh look back upon fondly. That's what happens when you bring championships to a town. So, while no one will remember Matt Murray as an NHL legend or even a star, what people will say is that guy is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion and an unappreciated part of Penguins folklore. Now, on to the next name in the Magic hat here. Woo! Josh Harrison, J-Hay. Now what is a nostalgic piece of my childhood when people across the nation think of the Pirates' 3-year stretch of great baseball in the mid-2010s. A very underrated name people forget about is the fact Josh Harrison. Sure, Kutch was awesome playing alongside Marte and Polanco in the outfield, and with guys like Garrett Cole, Neil Walker, Mark Melanson, J-Hay was such an exciting player to watch and even was top 10 in MVP votes in 2014. Even though he wasn't the most explosive guy at bat, everywhere else he was electric. He was so solid fielding at second base, and it seemed like every time he was running around the bases, something was going to happen. So yes, Andrew McCutchen and others from the golden age of the 2000s Pirates may be regarded as actual legends, but the world needs to show more love to Josh Harrison. Now, last but not least, here we have Erling Haaland, the big striker from Manchester City. He scored bags of goals these past few seasons since he joined the club, but I don't think it is all because of him. Hence, I think he is overrated. While yes, you don't score as many goals as he has without outstanding finishing ability, but besides that, what does he have? He isn't the fastest guy, nor is he a good passer, dribbler. He doesn't have the highest game IQ, and he often ghosts in finals or other big games. What I think Erling Haaland is the end product of the well-oiled machine that is a Pep Guardiola coach team. He hails from Barcelona, and Erling Haaland is the guy. He's the end product of that team, and he just wouldn't be as good on any other team in the world. So yes, that's my players. Brett, thank you for the gift of the Magic hat. I'm sure we'll see it again in the future.
It is bottomless, Casey. We definitely will see the Magic hat again in the future. But Caden, closing thoughts on these takes.
Derrick Rose, top 3 point guard ever. So number 1, you got Steph. Number 2, you got Magic. Really, Derrick Rose, number 3.
If he plays his full career with both knees intact, MVP at age 22, yes.
I mean, like when you look at this, you could also say they come from the same draft class. Does Derrick Rose's career turn out the same way as Russell Westbrook's? They're both explosive, both won 1 MVP, both from 2008, and we saw what happened with Russ. Like, who's to say to think it's kind of similar wouldn't happen with Derrick Rose? Like I said, I love the guy, but really.
Well, the thing was, Derrick Rose, the Bulls would have led Derrick Rose, and they would have actually built something there with a prime Derrick Rose staying there. And I think, yes, he would have had higher heights than Russell Westbrook.
Well, crazy takes today from these guys. I know we talked a lot about basketball, talked a lot about hockey, some huge playoff pictures coming up. So make sure you guys are tuning in as these playoffs progress. And thank you for tuning in this week. We will see you again next week.